I'm so pleased to welcome Dr. Tim Young today to Heart of Chiropractic. Dr. Tim Young was born and raised in Springfield, Missouri. After graduating in 1994 from Cleveland Chiropractic School in Kansas City, Dr. Young and his family relocated to Oklahoma City, where he began his own practice, Young Chiropractic. Dr. Young is currently the founder and president of the Oklahoma Chiropractors Association, founder and president of the National Chiropractic Educational Seminar Company, FocusOKC, as well as the co-founder of Next Level Chiropractic Development Company. Along with running one of the most successful chiropractic offices in the country, Dr. Young excels in maintaining a balanced life and keeps his family his first priority. His mission is to serve his community and patients with love, compassion, and gratitude. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
So, tell me, did you first decide to become a chiropractor?
Well, like growing up in Springfield, Missouri, I had an uncle that was a chiropractor there close to where we lived. And I started going to his office, around the fourth grade, for just, football injuries, I wrestled all through high school. And he was a huge influence on my life. When I was graduated high school, going into college, going into scene, he just kept planting seeds. He didn't have a son that was going to take on his practice, and you ought to think about coming with me. And it was always in the back of my mind. But like any 19, 20-year-old, I had the grand idea of doing everything from a football coach to you name it. And then I decided to join the Navy. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL, and through that course, some injuries, and it just it was kind of came to me that I was going to be a chiropractor. And so I had broke my back in a car accident and was told that I would have lots of problems. I wouldn't be able to do lots of things in my life, and because of the experience with my uncle in chiropractic, it changed my life, and I was able to do anything that I wanted to do. So that was the catalyst that led me down the road. Yes.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, sometimes life has a way of kind of guiding us. We think we have an idea of what we're going to do, and then things just kind of turn around. So while you've been in practice, have there been any, I'm sure you've had lots of miracle cases. Are there any that stand out for you?
Oh, I've got several, and having the opportunity to speak for the last, I've been on the speaking circuit probably for 17 years now. I feel like I tell the same stories over and over and over, but I have several stories that I tell. But one of my favorite stories is actually was published in a book. Dr. Gilles LaMarche from Life is a great friend of mine, and he published a book with chiropractic and childhood stories, and that story is actually published. And I was asked. I had a couple patients who had come in. And Christy, the mother, was pregnant with her first child, Coleman. And she was going to have a home birth. And I took care of her. I adjusted her all the way through her pregnancy. And when she was going through delivery, she started having complications. They rushed her to the hospital. The baby, long story short, the baby turned out to be, Coleman was almost 11 pounds and got stuck in the birth canal. A lot of trauma along the way. So I get the phone call about a day later. I guess that was maybe 2 days later. I get the phone call from Mark, the father, who said, Coleman's having lots of problems and they don't know what to do. Is there anything you can do? And I said, well, possibly, but the problem is I have to be able to get in to see him. He's in ICU. He's in NICU, and so. What you just said it pertains to this story. Out of all of the hospitals in Oklahoma City, out of all the babies being born, out of all the doctors and all the pediatricians, I have one patient that's a pediatrician that works in the hospital, and guess who's on call at that time? Dr. Thompson. So it was really ironic. So they called Dr. Thompson. Dr. Thompson said, anything he can do, you tell him to come on. So I went down that night. It was a Tuesday night. It was a Tuesday night, and I showed up. And when I walked into the office of the hospital where the NICU was, there was 3 nurses out front, and it was toward the end of the night, and they were waiting on me. And they said, "Oh, you must be Uncle Tim. Come on in." And so they put me in all the scrubs and the boots and the hats and all the stuff, and we go back to the to where the NICU. There was only one baby. It was Coleman. So it was a real sterile room, and there was four or five nurses and mom and dad, and then Coleman is over in the corner in a in one of those plastic incubator beds with all the wires and the tubes and the monitors and everything. And the first thing I do is I walk up to Mark and Christy, and I look at Christy, the mother, and the best way I can explain it is that the poor woman looked like she'd been hit by a truck. But what jumped out at me was every blood vessel in her eyes were completely busted. Her eyes were bright red, both of them. I've never quite seen anything like that from a pregnancy. I mean, it looked like a car wreck. And she couldn't even talk. She was completely exhausted. And Mark, the husband, said, "Well, let me give you a rundown of what just happened." We got here. Coleman was stuck in the birth canal, and he said, "Doc, they pushed him in. They twisted and they ripped him out." And Christy just starts crying, and you can just only imagine. So I calmed her, and I walked over to look at Coleman, and I looked down in this little incubator plastic bed, and with this little baby with all these tubes and all this stuff running over him. And the first thing I noticed is his eyes looked just like his mother's. Every blood vessel had been completely exploded. His eyes were bright red. I looked up the monitor, and there's all these numbers and all these things that I don't even know what they mean. But the two things I did notice was his heart rate was through the roof. It was pushing 170, 180. His little heart was ready to pop. But his respiration was barely moving. He was barely breathing. It was just so slow. He couldn't breathe, but his heart was trying to compensate. So I reached through the wires, and I turned him, and I picked him up, and I used my thumbs, and this is how I adjust, and I just started palpating down his spine. I got to about the 5th thoracic rib, and the rib was just pushing straight backwards. And I took my thumb and I set the rib. I mean, you could hear it. It was just a big noise. And he's 2 days old. I lay him back. I shake his atlas, and his atlas had been pushed because where they turned and pulled, they twisted his atlas, the top bone in the neck. They twisted it so far out that it was literally shutting off the brainstem and blood supply. And I took my fingers and I set the atlas, and I turned him and I laid him down. And I say this, and I've told this story, I know 100 times, man, and I always say the same thing: as God is my witness. Coleman took a huge breath, turned his head, looked at me, and breathed out. Immediately, the heart rate started coming down. The respiration started coming up. We stood there and watched it. And I turned around and looked at Mom and Christy, Christy and Mark, and the first thing that jumped out at me was there was a head nurse. She was the oldest one there. She was standing back there with her arms crossed, and she was livid that I was there. She did not want me touching that baby. The first words out of her mouth was, "Well, those things aren't that reliable anyway."
Oh, jeez.
And I started laughing, and and it's one of those funny things. You look back hindsight. I wish I'd have said, "So why do you stand around and worship it?" But I didn't. I didn't say anything. I walked up. I hugged Christy. I hugged Mark, and I said, "He's going to be fine." I left and went home, and it was, just after a busy day. We see a lot of people. I see lots and lots of kids, lots of people, and I was, fairly tired at this point. I come to the office the next day. Dr. Thompson comes into the office about, right before lunch. And he said, "I got to tell you something." He said, "I don't know what you did, but Coleman's going home today."
Wow.
And so he went home, and now he just had his 5th birthday. I take care of him and his 2 little brothers and his family. They've moved to Keys, Oklahoma, which is about 5.5 hours for me. And they make the drive once a month all the way in with those 3 boys to get their adjustment. And it was a powerful experience. I'll never forget it. It was life changing.
I had the chills running down my arms. That was an amazing story.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And when you hear a story like that, it just reaffirms, right, the important work chiropractors do.
And absolutely, and this is something for the chiropractors to understand. I have, and my message, my mission is certainty, chiropractic certainty. There was no hesitation. There wasn't a lack of anything in me. I had to go see this baby, and then I knew with my hands, I knew what to do. I didn't question or doubt chiropractic or the innate ability to heal. The follow-up to this little story is my favorite part of the story. I think one of my favorite parts is 1 year later, I was asked to come to Coleman's first birthday party. Now, I typically decline. If I was to go to every birthday party of every child I adjust, I'd be at birthday parties every day. This one was special, and so my wife and I, we went. And Mark is a pastor, so this was at a large church, and we show up, and I have never seen so many people at one little boy's birthday ever. I mean, there had to have been 100 people at this birthday party. And as I'm looking around and seeing all the kids running around, almost all of them were now patients of mine. Because of that one miracle. Of course, they told everybody. Now all those kids were coming in. But the great thing was, the thing that got me was Mark stood up, and you have to know him. He's just a big softy, and he took a mic, and that's how many people were there. He had a microphone, and he said, "Before we cut the cake, I'm going to say a prayer. But before we do that, I want to thank chiropractic, and I want to thank Dr. Young." And I always tear up when I tell the story, because it had not been for chiropractic and Dr. Young, Coleman wouldn't be here today, and we know it. And there wasn't a dry eye in that place. It was one of the most moving moments I've ever experienced, and that is the power of chiropractic. This is why I get up every day and do what I do. This is why I travel across the country. This is why I sit here and share with your listeners, because that power is within our hands, within our ability, and we have to share it. We have to teach it. We have to keep it alive. It's just so important, so important.
And in this case of this child, what would the medical community have done to help this child? Sometimes I get a little frustrated, because when someone has an injury, right? This was a very traumatic birth that this child experienced. There's really nothing that medicine can do for that child. If you have a traumatic birth and you have vertebra that gets subluxated, for our listeners who don't know what that means, we describe it as a gentle, somewhat of a misalignment. You're putting pressure on the nerves that go to all these organs, and I don't see how a medical doctor could, quote, fix that.
Well, they can't. And the only thing they can do, and the only thing that medical doctors do really, and other than emergency room, now, what we do is, as chiropractors, we remove interference with the body's ability to function or heal. And in emergency room settings, it's exactly what they do. If you get shot and you have a bullet in your body causing trauma, you go in, and an emergency room doctor will remove the interference, sew up what he needs to sew up, and allow the body to heal. That's what they do. The other side of it, the other side of the medical community, like in Coleman's case, heart rate up, respiration down. They will give him a drug to bring the heart rate down, a drug to bring the respiration up. Now we got an infant that's being drugged, but the cause, it's like the bullet is still in the body. It's
Right.
it's not going to go away. And so, my job was simply to locate and discover what was causing these symptoms. There's not a drug in the world that does that. There's not a medical doctor in the world that does that. No one does that but a chiropractor. And even within our own chiropractic community, it's sad. So many chiropractors don't understand the power of that adjustment. And there's so many that do, and thank goodness. But that's just one story. If you was to get that book from Dr. LaMarche, gosh, I think there's I don't even know. There's 500 stories in there, and I could spend the rest of the day telling you more and more stories of the miracles of children and adults and things that we see. But it really just boils down to, for your listeners, the body is constantly adapting to its surrounding and its environment at all times. And if there's an interference with that adaptation, or the way the body sees itself, that's our job, is just to remove that interference and allow the body to heal normally. And that's in essence what we do.
Yeah, and I actually got into chiropractic because at the age of 29, I had been unhealthy my entire life. Chronic bronchial and sinus infections, horrible menstrual cramps. I was always sick. And I started going to a chiropractor for chronic neck and low back pain. And guess what? All my other symptoms started going away. 29 years being very, very sick, and all of a sudden I became very healthy. So, for me, it's easy to keep that in mind when I meet with new parents, that this thing called chiropractic can actually not only improve the health for you, but your children. Because a lot of people there's a disconnect, particularly with kids.
It was interesting. I just had a conversation with a close friend of mine. She's a chiropractor up in Wichita, Kansas. Her name is Dr. Devin Verana, amazing young lady. And we just had a discussion, and she has a huge pediatric practice. She will see it many times, almost 100 to 150 kids a day. They just, and she can't keep up with them. And the reason, and she's calling me to help, with how do you maintain, your flow of your office, and how do you take care of all these kids? Well, the amazing thing is, and the reason I bring that up is, they're all there for a reason. It's results. Mothers, I tell you what, mothers are special people, and if you have an answer to any way to help their child without doing harm, they're going to find you. They're going to pour through your door, and that's really what happens with chiropractic. I know there's a lot. Your listeners may have heard this and heard that, and they're like, "Why would you take a child to a chiropractor?" As if you ever talk to a mother that not only had she get chiropractic through her entire pregnancy, and then watched her baby get adjusted from the time it was born on, which I now have babies that I adjusted the day they were born, now bringing their babies to me, which shows my age, but it also is an honor. But if you talk to those mothers, they're going to tell you, probably the greatest compliment I ever received was from one of my young mothers. She was 4 days old when I adjusted her. She now is bringing her baby. When she brought her baby to me, she handed her baby, and she said, "Dr. Young, will you please keep my baby healthy, so just the same way you kept me healthy my whole life?" You can't say it any better than that. And it was such an honor. And mothers know, and children know. I treat a lot of autistic kids. I have a lot of autistic kids, and a lot of my kids that come in, when they first came in, they're all over the place, and they're very non-trusting, and they're scared because they've been poked and prodded and had everything in the world done to them. And after about their third or fourth visit with me and getting that adjustment, now they will come up and reach for me, and they'll let me hold them, and they'll let me adjust them, because innately they know this is right. You can't argue that. You can't debate it. You can't argue it. When you look in the eyes of a child and they reach for you because they want their adjustment, that says it all right there.
How do you explain to a parent of a child with autism how chiropractic can help their child?
What's interesting is the parents that I see know more about neurology and healthcare than just about anybody, because what happens is when they have an autistic child, and they know where that autism comes from. They had a perfectly healthy baby, a perfectly healthy child. They got a 2-year-old that's looking them in the eye, playing, actually learning to read. 48 hours after a vaccination, their lights go out and they're gone. These parents get real educated real fast, and they understand neurology, they understand biochemistry, they understand nutrition, and so they kind of speak your language a little bit already. And the way I explain it to parents with, when they bring the kids in, look, he said, your child's nervous system has been attacked, and we've got to get as much stress off that nervous system as we possibly can to allow the body to normalize. Without it, they're just in a constant state of turmoil. And when you make a chiropractic adjustment, and it's so gentle on a child or a toddler or a young one, it's not an aggressive, like some people get this misconception, they get this picture in their head of being, pounded on. It's just not like that. I mean, I literally use my thumbs. But when you remove the stress and you increase motion in that spine and allow the body to function with more ease, with less stress, when you take the stress away from an autistic child, you can immediately watch the change. You can see it in their face. I have one little boy, Elliot, when he first started coming in at 3. Oh my goodness! It was so bad that the parents actually divorced. It breaks my heart. They just couldn't take it anymore. Now Elliot is 5. This has been 2 years. He's 5 years old. He's in school. His mother cries every time she brings him to me because he's a normal child today. He's kind of an exception to the rule. We don't get results like that always. But I will tell you the changes, the parents will tell you these children are night and day. And when they see the results, but really when they come to you, they're at the end of the rope. Here's my child. Please do something is what they're asking. Yeah.
One thing I noticed in practice, especially when you work with children with special needs, is that very often the parents don't get care. And a lot of times it's finances. But in my opinion, the parents and the whole family needs care. When you have a child with special needs, when you have a child that has autism, um, they're so stressed out.
Yeah,
And
it's one of the things that breaks my heart the most is I have a mother that brings her 21-year-old son in, and he's autistic, and I mean, full blown with, he has to wear the earphones and everything. And I watch her, and she needs chiropractic probably as much as anyone that walks in my door. And I mean, I can imagine, and he's a big kid. She's a little lady, and he's a big kid. He's probably 6'1", and big guy, but it's like having a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum at all times. And so she's having to deal with this, and has for 21 years. And like you just said, it's hard to get her, she just doesn't want to spend the money and the time on herself. It's all about him, and it always has been. And I try to be subtle and just say, you do understand chiropractic works for mamas too, and smile and try to get her to understand how important it is. But it's really hard. Mothers, especially mothers of special need children, they've just put themselves in a role of kids first, and they're put themselves way down the line. I mean, it's a hard thing, but the main thing is you take care of their babies, you take care of their children, and you show them love and compassion. And when they need you, you're the first person they come to.
yeah, I had this one family that I was working with. I was working with a child with autism, and for about a year, and the child was doing great. And then I kept telling the mom she needed care too, because she was just always stressed out, and you could just see she's always in fight or flight. And one day I just said, you got to let me adjust you. And she had just come in with her daughter, and I adjusted her first. And after I got done, like, you could see her shoulders dropped and she was breathing better. And then her daughter turned and looked at me, and for the very first time looked me in the eyes and said, "Hello, Dr. Tarlow, it's great to see you." And her mother's jaw dropped and said, she's never looked anybody in the eyes before.
Oh gosh, that's wonderful.
So when she started chiropractic care, she told her parents she loved them for the first time. And, there was she was very, very damaged by vaccines. So we saw this great growth in her, but that was a new thing. And I hadn't even adjusted her yet. It was just the mom.
That's amazing. And it's, you see that a lot. And I'll tell you what I see, on the flip side of that, I'll tell you what I see a lot of too, is parents that will come in, but they won't bring their children in. And I know that you had Dr. Jim Sigafus's, I believe it was his daughter, on before. And he used to have a poster, and I have it somewhere and I can't find it, but I'm going to try to find it. He had a poster that he had in his office, and it was pretty blunt. It just basically said, go ahead and leave your children at home so they can enjoy the same health conditions that you're now enjoying. And I thought, wow, that, I love that. That said it all. And you just have to gently educate. We don't have the billions and billions and billions of dollars that the pharmaceutical companies have to brainwash them with TV, all day long. We have to do it subtly, a little bit at a time, and just tell them the truth, and and help the ones that you can. Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about FocusOKC?
Yeah, FocusOKC is a seminar that we have here in Oklahoma City once a year. We're getting ready to have our 7th. Let's see, is this number 7? No, this is number 8. Our 8th year. This is number 8, and it's 2 days. We have, I believe, this year we have 21 speakers from all over the world. We have speakers coming in. Ross McDonald's coming in from Scotland. We have Tim Shakespeare coming in from Australia. Ryan Ryder is coming in from Windsor, right outside of London. Dr. Andy Wakefield, he's speaking this year. Tim O'Shea, which I'm sure you know who Tim O'Shea is. He wrote the vaccine book, is a very close friend of mine. He'll be speaking. We travel and teach a lot together. And what I do is I bring chiropractors in and that will inspire other chiropractors, will educate other chiropractors. John Minardi was here last year. He's one of the most brilliant minds in chiropractic when it comes to chiropractic neurology and how it affects the brain function. And we started this because And quite honestly, to give true credit, Billy DeMoss is one of my closest friends, and he started a large seminar, chiropractic, basically celebration in California the first year called CalGym. And I started going to that, and I said, well, look, this is so amazing, so impactful for the profession. And if you impact the profession will then impact the communities in the world. It's just the way it works. But it's once a year in the first of the year, and I told my wife that we have to continue this. We have to make sure we keep the ball rolling throughout the year. And so we started Focus, and it has been, oh my gosh, we have 500, 600, 700 people from all over the world that come to Oklahoma City, and it is a true celebration of chiropractic education, chiropractic motivation, the science, the philosophy, the art. We have some of the best adjusters that there are. Speak. One of my teachers, Dr. Hugo Gibson from Cleveland Chiropractic, who taught there for years. He's 74 now. I think he just turned 74. Still practices. He speaks a lot. It's just a way. It's a way that my family has decided that we're going to give back to the profession, and it's become a national event. Very, very proud of it. I'm excited about this following year. Like I said, with Dr. Wakefield coming. When I first started the group 8 years ago, I was calling people that didn't know me. Said, I would love to come speak. We're just starting this, and and it was a little hard. And now I have a list of people who are calling, or I'd love to come join you, come speak for you, because it's grown into something so powerful and so meaningful to us, and something I'm very, very proud of, because again, it's about certainty and delivering a certainty, creating a certainty within the profession, and that's what FocusOKC is all about, is delivering and giving back to the profession that's given me and my family so much.
Yeah, and I saw a video of you. I guess you were on stage and you were demonstrating a type of adjustment.
Oh yeah, that's my technique that I teach. I do I spend a lot of time at the schools. Matter of fact, when I get off here, I have to sit down and look at my schedule, because my daughter is she's in her last year at Parker. I spend a lot of time at Parker with the students. I go to Cleveland, I do Life, I go to Life West, I go to Logan, a lot of the schools, and I teach adjusting courses to the students, but I've also taught a lot of adjusting courses to field doctors. I just got back from Windsor, England, just right there. Literally, you could see the castle from where I was at. It was a pretty great trip. But doctors from all over the world are searching and looking for the type of technique that gets the best results. And I've been in practice 21 years, and I have a very high volume practice, and I built it on results. I don't do outside marketing. I don't do ads. I don't do any of that. It's just with chiropractic, and I've learned from some of the very best. And so that video was made one of my adjusting courses before Focus, and I'll be doing it again this next year. It's the Thursday afternoon. We have Focus is Friday and Saturday. Thursday afternoon, I do a field doctor advanced adjusting course. And so again, it goes back to certainty. We can understand chiropractic, we can believe in chiropractic, but if you can't really deliver it appropriately, then it really doesn't matter. And so I try to put the art, philosophy, and science all together in one package.
Next Level. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, now Next Level is very special to me. We started Next Level, my business partner and best friend. We went to chiropractic school together. His name's Michael Buffington. He practices right outside Rockwall, Texas, right outside of Dallas. Like I said, we went to chiropractic school together, and him and I were members of another chiropractic management or coaching group for about 17 years. And we worked really hard at our own practices and building our own practice and taking care of our families. And within that group, we did lots and lots of coaching. Well, throughout the last several years, that group kind of went another direction that just really didn't resonate with us. It didn't follow along our what we believe with our integrity and kind of what we saw that was appropriate for our lives. And so we decided to kind of pull away. And when we did, we were approached by many other chiropractors who we've helped through the years, and they approached us and said, we really love what you've helped us do, what you teach, how you practice. Will you please help us? And that was the catalyst. And so we, a lot of work, a lot of thought, a lot of prayer went into this. Dr. Buffy, Michael, and I spent excuse me, spent literally for one solid year, every morning before the office, every day at lunch, and every night on the way home, we were on the phone together and just really hashing out the true purpose of what we do and why we do it. And Next Level was born. And so what we do is we have four meetings a year, two in the spring, two in the fall, and then we use Focus in the middle. We have a lot of online coaching. We have a lot of Skype coaching, and really our purpose is to take young chiropractors, old chiropractors, anyone that is looking for a more effective, easier way to run their practice, still maintaining the principle of chiropractic. That's the number one thing. It's not about marketing. It's about certainty of understanding why you do what you do. And we have basically our saying is, if you know who you are, what you do, and why you do it, we can help you succeed in practice. And that's what Next Level has done, and it has kind of caught us off guard. We're growing faster than we really expected we would, but we're having a lot of fun doing it. And when we get this week alone, I had a young lady. This sums up why we do what we do. A young lady that went to Focus last year, and she's been in practice just for a couple of years, and she was seeing about 50 patients a week, 48, 50 a week, just barely getting by. She texted me this week, and this was last year, folks. She texted me this week. She's went from 48 a week to over 200 a week. She saw 78 in one day. She bought her first home. She said she's so happy and she's so excited with her life and her practice that she thinks she may be the first doctor to get a Next Level tattoo. And nothing makes me happier to watch chiropractors succeed, because if chiropractors are succeeding and becoming more successful and seeing more patients, then they're reaching more people. And if they're reaching more people, then chiropractic is succeeding within a profession. That, to me, that's how we keep the profession alive, is to help chiropractors help more people. If we have chiropractors struggling or failing or going out of practice, all that does is destroy the profession within the inside. But if we have successful chiropractors seeing lots of people and very, very happy, then I've sent over 60 kids that come into my office to chiropractic school. The reason they go is because they see Dr. Young being so happy. I want to do what he does. And I think that's why Next Level is so special to me, because I see it changing lives, and not only within the profession, but if within the profession is changing more and more lives within their communities. And that's why it's so special to me.
Well, I love the name. The name just says so much. You're taking the profession, you're taking individuals up a notch, right? You're taking them to the next level.
Absolutely. And that's what everybody, everybody wants to do that, no matter where they're at. How do I take, and we are very, very focused on within Next Level, not only in your practice, but, actually more so within your family, with who you are. Take your personal relationship with your spouse and with your children. And, you can have the most successful practice in the world, but if your family's a wreck, well, then, who cares? We stress being the best version of you that you can be. That's what we start with. Every meeting, it's let's get you to be the best version of you, the strongest integrity, the strongest honesty. Be a great person, and then we'll help you become a great practitioner. But you've got to start there first, and taking your entire life. It's a balance to the next level, and truly. That's where it comes from, is because that's what I would hear over and over and over. Dr. Young, can you help me? I want to get to that next level. And, that's where it was born from.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you're doing to help the profession. I love how you're helping the community and helping the global community with the work that you're doing. So I really am extremely appreciative of you, and I thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to honestly, and I get asked this a lot: what drives you? Why do you do all that you do? Again, 21 years in practice. I have 3 amazing kids. I got a grandson that's getting ready to turn 3. My son, my baby boy, he's 19 years old. He's going wrestling in college. My middle daughter is in chiropractic school. My life, and it sounds self-serving, and I don't mean it to be, my life is amazing. My life is amazing. I could not be happier in any way. And I give credit to chiropractic. It is the most incredible, beautiful, amazing profession on this planet. And it has served me and given me and my family and my family's family. You know, one of my greatest honors, I built my mother a brand new house several years ago, and there's not a week that goes by that she doesn't thank me because of chiropractic. This is my way of giving back, and I believe that it is my mission, it is my purpose on this planet, is to serve and to deliver, but give back to that has given me so much. That's my driving force, and if I could leave anything with any listener out there that I live and breathe by that mission, is to give back to what's given me so much.
And I am going to suggest that chiropractors reach out to you, and to, if there are people that live in your community that are looking for a chiropractor, please reach out to you as well. You offered to give your email address. Can you share that?
I've got if the chiropractors who are interested in coming to Focus and listening to the speakers and getting more certain, it's really easy. It's FocusOKC.com. If you're interested in coaching, if you would like some just personal help with your office or anything within the chiropractic community, you can go to nextlevelglobal.net. If you would like to contact me personally with anything, and this is if you're a patient or a doctor or just anyone that has a question, and I'll have to spell it out. It's movingbones@yahoo.com, but it's the letter M, the letter V, the letter N as in Nancy, B as in boy, O as in orange, N as in Nancy, and Z as in zebra @yahoo.com. Movingbones@yahoo.com. And so you're welcome to contact me at any given time. My office number is 405-767-9750. You can contact my office if you have any questions. So, and then I'm on Facebook. So just let me know how I can serve in any way.
Thank you so much, and I will be talking soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.